and plenty of things to dive into as we get cranked up here this afternoon. I do appreciate all y'all being with us as I keep seeing all these posts that we're 30 days out from football. We're getting closer to the beautiful fall weather and the holidays and all that stuff. But right now, we still got the summer grind going on, and we've got plenty of things already popping in the news for today. Speaking of the holidays, our friends over at Allen and Company first sponsor up here today, the Thompson family, ready to welcome you in the door if you're planning to do something big. Man, it's already August. You don't have too much longer, especially if it's an engagement or a ring upgrade, one of those bigger ticket items. If it's just some nice, just doing something nice for somebody, they got options for you too. Really good gift giving ideas, finance possibilities too, if you need that to get through Christmas. But once you get to know them, and if you're not quite sure what she wants, fellas, let her start browsing there. They'll keep notes. They'll surreptitiously find everything that she wants without tipping her off, and then you'll have something to work with when you come in there to still make the purchase or get the element of surprise. Little pro tip: if you do it now, she'll forget about it by Christmas. You got a little extra time for the surprise portion. It's Allen and Company in Vestavia on the big hill. I always call it the big hill because everything in Vestavia, all the retail's right there on 31, it seems. Allen and Company. All right, let me start. I'm going to start with the this weird situation. We had two situations actually that we're finding out about today that were potentially threatening to the president, not as much as we've seen, but the first of which was the situation we just found out about really late last night and today that actually happened on Sunday, where a weird dude was casing the Trump national property out in California, just as the president was on his way there for the speech he did yesterday. Now, the president was still not in town, so to speak. This was the advance teams working, but they caught a weirdo. And the weirdo, this 38-year-old guy, was walking around surveilling the place. He had an earpiece. He had various weapons in his possession. I mean, the media makes a big deal out of the weapons, but I'm like, that could be a lot of us. We have those same weapons. But it was his behavior on site and his changing story. He started out saying that he was with the State Department security team because State Department does do advance. Usually these people work embassies and when ambassadors are moving around, that kind of thing. So they do have a forward security advance for some of the things underneath their banner, but he wasn't, and they made experienced law enforcement knew that he wasn't. So then but he came back, and they had him under surveillance. So he comes back, then he says, "Oh, I'm here just to look out for Trump. I'm a big fan." He's making some attempt to blend in. Well, they started investigating the guy, and once they went back to his apartment, they found some disturbing notes related to the president, presumably hostile toward the president, which is what we're working on now. This guy's a former veteran, served in Afghanistan, and that's about all we know at this hour. So they did get him in advance of anything potentially happening. If you count this as an assassination attempt, because he was armed, he had body armor and we believe also armor-piercing ammunition, an AR, a short-form AR platform that was not properly registered, that kind of stuff. I think he had a 1911 on him too. If this was indeed an attempt on Trump, it would be the fourth major one that we know about. There are statistics out today saying that there are 1 in 3. Well, every 1 to 3 months, there's a new incident that they're having to investigate. It's the most by far against any living president. And there have been, there are always incidents, no matter who's the president. I had forgotten about one. Even Barack Obama had one crazy person during 8 years. And so it was disturbing. Now, the other thing, and I'm going to go back to the incident in California here in just a second, but the other thing was a near miss that we didn't hear about till today with Marine One. Now, it wasn't as close as like the plane almost hit Marine One, but there was a confliction that happened because here's the protocol. When Marine One takes off from the White House to take the president over to Andrews to get on the plane to go somewhere, like they did yesterday, they clear the airspace for Marine One. It's always tradition, no matter who the president is. I've seen them do it. I've stood there and watched it take off. It's really fascinating to watch. I'll never forget. I watched Bill Clinton's sorry ass get carried out of Washington on his last flight out. I just stood there and watched him fly over. It was I had a little moment. It was so great to see him leave. But yeah, from time to time, if you're working or around anywhere near the White House, you'll have this noticeable sense that things have kind of stopped a little bit when the president's on the move. Either it's traffic on the ground or you just notice less air traffic. When you're in D.C., Reagan National is so close to the Capitol, you can see those planes taking off from a lot of the buildings. When you land at Reagan, if many of y'all have done that, if you've ever gone into D.C. that way, you're looking right at the Capitol building. You're looking at all the monuments. You're coming in right there in the heart of D.C. But during the takeoff yesterday, when Marine One was in the air, Reagan, the air traffic control, is supposed to shut down the airspace and not allow any flights. Well, they didn't do it, and one of the flights had to deconflict. It was on the path with Marine One with the president on board. Now, that's just an incident that needs to be investigated. Who screwed up? Why didn't they follow protocol? But y'all just remember, not too long ago, we had that female helicopter pilot that crashed into the side right over the Potomac of a passenger plane and killed all those people. It is a very busy airspace. It is a tight airspace. It's a very restrictive airspace, and some of the biggest dignitaries in the world fly in and out of this airspace all the time. So it's very important that they get this right at Reagan, at Dulles, at all these airports. But another sort of a near miss incident reported in the news today. Now, let me go back to this story out of California. My man Ryan Haney down the hall that works with us, y'all know, many of you know about Ryan, and he's one of our radio geniuses left here in the building. And sometimes I'll touch base with Ryan and see what's going on. And he and I were just casually talking about the Trump thing. And he made an observation that I think relates to a lot of us, is that he saw that last night and really didn't think much of it after that. He went, oh, wow, glad they got him. And then I noticed last night when I saw it come across, I was kind of alarmed. We were settled down for the evening trying to watch whatever dumb thing we watch at night. And I told my wife about it, and she just looked at me like, okay. And there's a point to be made there. This is happening so frequently. And we all lived through Butler. I guess if you want to throw Charlie Kirk in more recent times, just straight up assassinations and attempts in this country, we've gotten numb to it. Isn't that stupid that we're in that place? Because in this Trump era, it's happened so frequently because the guy didn't get a shot off, or there are other circumstances involved in it. We still don't know all the details, but most people just kind of blew the story off. It's not even, if you look at the headlines that are popping up on our screens here in the studio, it's not even in the top 5 right now. That a guy got that close to a property and it looked like he was surveilling the president of the United States at a time of war. It's just amazing where we are as people. But we're just we're sort of numb to it. The other thing that we're numb to, if I could transition, is communism. And it pains me to say it as a lifelong commie fighter from the 80s. I'm a Reagan baby. We're getting old. We didn't teach the next generation the dangers of this insidious ideology. Though they had been known for decades, next to Islam itself, communism and socialism has killed more people than any ideology that's ever conceived. Hitler would have loved to keep up with them, but he didn't last that long. He wasn't in power that long. Communism was around for a long time, killing and starving. Every time they take over, they kill people. And, of course, the Muslims, God bless them, they got a track record that goes back to 711 A.D. of slaughter. Straight up, old school murder. And so their death toll is notably higher because they got centuries of a head start at trying to get people to submit to their will. And so yesterday we see this socialist get nominated to the United States Senate out of the state of Michigan, and it set off alarm bells. There are 2 takes on it from the right, one of which is, well, good, the Democrats are self-destructing, and I do subscribe to a lot of that. They have they've lost control of their own party. They don't have a legitimate leader right now. In that vacuum is stepping these kooks. But their voters in some places are validating what's happening in their own party. And so you study Michigan, and I was looking at it, I was like, well, where did this vote come from? We know about Dearborn, the concentration of Muslims in parts of Michigan. This guy had a natural constituency. There's the rise also of this communism, socialism nonsense with the younger folks. And so this guy indeed did well in the Muslim communities, and he did well in the university cities where the colleges are, where the least educated people on planet Earth are in our college towns. Isn't that ironic? Isn't it ironic? And so this dude, he squeaked out. Polls showed him a lot higher. It looked like a big, huge win. He's going to get his ass kicked in the fall. But it's alarming to see that any critical mass could happen with a socialist candidate. It was unheard of for my entire adult lifetime. Certainly before that, post-Cold War and that generation of people. But we're losing the imagination of some of these younger kids who are so idiotic and ignorant of history that they think this is new. And I've given this speech over and over. I was talking to Ryan about it. And in a lot of ways, it's my generation's fault. I'm taking the blame. I'm putting it on our shoulders. We took for granted, those of us that grew up in the 80s and understood firsthand the ravages of socialism and communism. I mean, we were on the freedom side of that wall, and then the wall fell, and we just assumed the next generation, which my son, my oldest, were born right after the wall fell. They never knew anything about it. They never saw it themselves. Even if you think about 9/11, here we are electing idiots like Mondami and this fool in Michigan in the United States of America in 2026 after the brutality of 9/11. And by the way, I can go on and on about it. This guy in Michigan yesterday is hanging out with some social media influencer who believes that we had it coming on 9/11. What? Yeah, he does. 25 years later, we've got a public figure with popularity saying America had it coming. It didn't take us long to forget. So here are these unholy alliances. Many people are calling this Islamo-commie combination, and we all know how this plays out. Eventually, the communists are going to gain some traction. They're going to get some seats. They might gain some power. If they have their way, they will do their part to destroy institutions that protect us against things like the encroachment of Islam. And then Islam uses these fools until it can take over, and then it will want everybody to worship its God. The God of the communist is government itself. Where did Churchill, I think, said the priests of communism and socialism are the bureaucrats. People like Fauci. Look at the Fauci worship that's going on despite the insidious stuff this guy committed on this country. And so we're in this weird place. We're in this weird place where, yeah, you can be optimistic because even the Democrats barely wanted to vote for this guy yesterday, but he got votes. He's got a nomination. The dude has a platform for the next several months until Mike Rogers kicks him dead in the Kiwis, which I believe he will. I don't think Michigan's completely lost. But this is how it starts. This is the beginning of it. This is how the encroachment of ideologies that are very different than our own. It's very simple. The faith system that is Islam, that is also a legal system and a violent, a militant system, and they've got an education system. It's much more than a religion, but it demands obedience and that you bow to it. They demand submission, and they have for 1,400 years. There is no other history with these people, period. It's what they believe. Even the kind, sweet, peaceful Muslims are cool with the violent Muslims doing whatever they got to do because they all read the same book. And it says it in the book. If you don't believe me, go read it. These people demand submission wherever they go. Let me ask you, here's a case in point. How many churches are in Saudi Arabia? Anybody know? Anybody have a count? Saudi Arabia. We're treating them like an ally right now. They're working with us with a lot of development in oil. How many churches are there? Anybody? None. Zero. They don't allow it. How many churches are in some of these other dominant countries? Not many at all. There is no tolerance for anything but what they believe. Communism is the same thing. It's just they don't worship a God. Their God is the government, and they've always insisted that people submit. There is no debate. If you're Fauci, there is no debate. He is the science. Do what you're told. Shut up and take your medicine. It's for the greater good. Boy, that old line. Go read some old Ayn Rand. If it's for the greater good, well, we should all have to do it. That's how you lose freedom. You know what that is not? That is not the United States Constitution, either one. That is not personal freedom. That is not responsibility. That is not productive. That will not feed a nation. It will destroy us. We are committing suicide from within if we allow this to grow. And I don't even really know what we do generationally about our failure to educate. My generation took for granted how dangerous these people are. The next generation came along and didn't hear it from their parents. They damn sure didn't hear it with the teachers union K through 12 public education. And so every day I got to sit here for 4 hours and try to fix their bad education. And it's maybe too late for some of them. They will embrace a lot of things that feel good because they work on vibes and emotion, and it will eat them alive. It will destroy them because it always does. We've got centuries of history, and in the cases of modern communism, decades of history, known history, facts, evidence, a pattern that always emerges that will eat these people alive, and it is sad. And then we've got another issue that I want to get onto, and it's going to be a factor here in Alabama and in the governor's race. And I believe the Republicans are royally screwing up. I think they have really not known how to handle this issue, and they've given the Democrats a gift here in the midterms, and it's about the data centers. I'm going to talk about that in detail when we come back from the break. Alabama Gold Refinery also bringing you the show today, AGR, alabamagoldrefinery.com. Y'all, this is a great shop if you want to get in on gold investing or silver investing. Even here ahead of the holidays, it might be a cool place to do some gift-giving, shopping. I've told you the story over and over about the grandfather that reached out to me and said he always buys his kids real silver coins so they can keep them and collect them and keep up with their value. That's a tangible, real-world way to teach the youngins about. Heck, if we're not going to teach them about communism, you better teach them about how do you actually grow wealth, because then they'll have something one day when the wolves come to eat them. At least they'll have something if you can start teaching them now. You got to educate them, man. And this is a cool idea. You can go over to AGR and start that process. It's a fun shop. Steve's a wealth of knowledge. And it doesn't matter which side of the equation you're on. You can have some cash. You want to convert that to metals. Or you can have some of these metals, old jewelry and stuff, and you just want to unload it to get cash value for other things. Or you're a collector and you need to convert. This is a fair place to do it. Fair pricing, safe location, central location, right in the middle of Homewood near the Regions Bank. It is Alabama Gold Refinery, AGR, alabamagoldrefinery.com. Back here in just a minute. Well, that guy's whining a lot, isn't he? I got to see. I'm assuming he has bad breath or he talks too loud. People just don't like him. He's wrote a whole song about it. It's like, get your ass out of here, man. Take a shower. Who is that? That sounds familiar. That guy's voice sounds familiar.
That's Chris Teppo, the Cold Stairs.
Okay, the Cold Stairs. Those I like those
Yeah.
guys. Hey man, 227 lead on live. Let me dig into this for just a minute, and I'll elaborate. Obviously, we've got a 4-hour show. This is heavy on my mind. The Republicans are royally screwing up generally, because it's not everybody, by just going all in on these data centers without any caution. It is an issue that has presented itself here in the governor's race in Alabama, and Tuberville's team needs to uh, work on his messaging on it, because it's giving Doug Jones something where Doug Jones has nothing, and that is the public anxiety over these centers. And it's multifaceted. The communities, it's not enough. It's lazy to write off the anti data center push as Chinese propaganda. And it's lazy to say, well, we just got to do it. We got to do it now because the Chinese are going to beat us if we don't do it now. We got to do it now. It's just like we felt during COVID when they told us, shut up and take the shot. Shut up and stay home. Put on the stupid paper mask. Even though your gut told you that's not right. That don't even make any sense. These data centers, both can be true, that we're in a race with the Chinese and we've got to be first to develop. But the other thing can be true too. These things suck up water, they make noise, there's environmental impact, community impact, the land that they go on. Those are real concerns. These are where people live. That's the most basic thing in the world. If you put up a chicken plant or a prison or a landfill, we've always had these issues in communities. And the way it's happening so fast, communities don't feel like they're having any input. And that's when you create a bipartisan pushback among people, common sense people that want to know what the hell's going on. This go fast and step on the gas. And by the way, this is Trump's approach too, and I disagree with him. I think he's looking at the big picture that we've got to beat the Chinese, go America. But we've got to get from here to there, we've got to have a process that people agree to and understand, because these aren't on the moon yet. These aren't in space. And by the way, I have another point to make, and I'll do it after the break. What are we going to do with these massive facilities when the technology changes? Because it will. We know that from real experience, and I've got a lot to say about that too. Suddenly we got these massive, dilapidated Scooby-Doo buildings with nothing in them once the tech changes down the road, probably sooner rather than later. Ironically, because AI comes up with a better way to do AI. Y'all, there's a lot to talk about with this, and it's already entered the governor's race, and the Tuberville team better tighten up their messaging. Back in a minute. All right, y'all, 234, Leland Live, talking to NM5, Douglas Cooling and Heating. I'm literally texting right now with Douglas and my man Mason over there. He's going to come out in the morning and check one of our units. We got an upstairs and a downstairs, and I noticed that downstairs unit just wasn't keeping up last night. It wasn't getting any lower, so something's going on with it. What I know and what you'll know if you're having the same kind of situation in this super hot summer is that when they come out, they're going to tell you the truth. He's going to fix it if it can be fixed. Hopefully, it's something small. They just came out in service not too long ago, so I'm assuming it's something small. But you never know. If I had to guess and walk out there and look at it, I'd say it was the flux capacitor, maybe the coolinator or something like that on there. See, that tells you I don't know anything about what I'm looking at. I can do a lot of things. I do not fool with that stuff. I let the pros do it. They're going to, and that's why you have to trust. Most of y'all are like that too. You got to trust that your heating and air company is shooting straight with you. Douglas has built a reputation since 1972 of doing just that. Just if they can fix it, they fix it. If they can't, they'll give you in writing your options. They publish their prices. They're efficient with their time, and they do a lot of other services too. In addition to heating and air, they can do some electrical work for you. They can do plumbing work for you. A lot of the home services. It's nice to have a trusted company, and I so trust them that I've used them for going on 17 years. That's a long time. That's how long this radio show has been on the air, and they've been with me since day one. It was actually, I've told the story over and over. I had a system crash right about the time this radio started, and it just really worked out for me that I found this company. Y'all, it's calldouglas.com for anything you're dealing with. By the way, if it's the cooling side, it'll be the heating side soon. Generally, those heat pumps work in the other direction. So take care of it and get it done. CallDouglas.com. By the way, I just got a message from them, too. They've got financing right now. I believe, let me double check this message, but I think it's 0 for 60, which is outstanding. This is exactly what you want if you got to come out of pocket and get something big done that's unexpected. These things are always unexpected. Ask them about how their financing works and reach out to them at calldouglas.com, C-A-L-L, calldouglas.com. All right, let me get JJ in here because she's on the same subject I was just ranting about toward the end of the last hour. And I'm becoming alarmed by this whole data center thing and how I think it's being mishandled. Today, Governor Abbott put a moratorium on developing these things in the whole state of Texas. He's the first Republican governor to show some strength on this. Just if nothing, to show some good faith and due diligence to citizens that have more questions than they have answers right now about this encroaching thing that's coming in. JJ is up next on a cell phone. What's up, JJ?
Hey, Leland, I agree with you about the data centers. We have to look at both sides of it. We really, really need them, as Trump keeps emphasizing. But we need to be careful about them. And one of the things I've thought about, and it may not even make a dent because we're going to be doing so many of them, is, states are big on offering incentives on where to put this and that and the other every time something comes to town. Well, in Alabama at least, and I guess other states too, we have areas in all of the regions of our state. All over Birmingham, there are areas in Jefferson County and other counties where other businesses were not necessarily desirable, and they took up big spaces.
Yep.
And now they're just either sitting abandoned, and or they're they were deemed not usable for some reason, and maybe the government went in there and quote unquote cleaned them up or whatever. But they could start offering, like I say, might not be enough to make a dent, but they could start offering incentives for those kinds of places to begin with and see how far that goes. The other thing is totally different. It's something that Republicans do all the time. They just step all over the things they should be doing. And that's John Thune, and you never hear anybody criticizing what he's been doing for months and months, and now the Republicans are finally trying to wiggle around him and do something about it. But look how long he's procrastinated, and he's still not doing anything. They're just trying to work around him. But that's all I got to say.
All right,
But
JJ.
you
There's
and I'll
JJ.
listen to what
With
you got.
thanks, JJ. Look, and I know I'm not the only one. The more people I talk to about these things, and one of the best takes on it was yesterday. And I think this was a left winger that was talking about it because honestly, and I'm going to I talked about this yesterday. Some of these approach of the Democrat socialists, they've got a similar diagnosis that the rest of us have about some of the problems. They're identifying things that are very electric sort of points that really get to the heart of what people are concerned about. They're identifying these things better than some of the Republicans are, and clearly better than the old mainstream Democrats who are just, they're about defend the party no matter what, and their ideologies all over the place. These people are coming with an ideology that says corporate America is screwing everything up. And that is actually a position that a lot of folks that are either libertarians or in MAGA totally agree with as well. We just watched our country get run over by corporate America, the pharmaceuticals, the social media companies that ran over us on behalf of the Democrats, but they still ran over us because they could. Now, the Democrats' approach to that is destroy all the corporations and let the government run everything. Well, that leads to death and starvation and misery, as we all know. If you're remotely educated on how that always works, that's the answer. The other prescription for the disease is we need more competition. We actually need more capitalism. The bigger these companies get and the more power they have to run over us, the less competition they have and the more they can run over us. And we just lived through that 6 years ago. And it's a very real experience for us. We need to bust some of these things up. Some of these tech companies are too big, they're too strong, they're too powerful. And here's the sad irony of all that. These things that they're building in our communities, making the noise, sucking up all the energy, driving up the utility rates, sucking water out of the ground, or whatever they're doing, they're not going to employ that many people. And these things, these giant, massive things, are going to be running your life. These are private companies getting deals from the government and not really kickbacks in the illegal form, but tax abatements and incentives to build these things that will eventually benefit them and profit them, while what the things will be doing once they're constructed is controlling your brain and running your life and making your decisions. And some of that will be wonderful. Some of that will be incredible, but some of that will be insidious. And we're already watching our fellow man walk around like zombies. I call them blue-faced zombies. You go to dinner, you look in traffic, people got their damn phones out with their screens illuminating their face in this light shade of blue, and they don't know where they are. I'm looking at dads at dinner checked out from their own kids who are also checked out on their devices, and we know that's not good for people. We know that's not good for the human condition, and we're feeding the beast by giving them tax breaks so they can create more of this technology to further control us, and we're not supposed to have a say in how it works. Republicans have either not had a position on it or very weak or afraid to disagree with Trump over it because in that world, he's sacrosanct. That's why he's in all their ads. The Democrats are using it as a battering ram against these candidates, and it's effective. And it doesn't have to be. There's no reason for anybody in the Republican Party to be blank check about data centers. Now, hear what I'm saying, because people are ignorant, and I get it all the time with people that half listen and will remember your general take on something, but not your specific thought process. So try to listen to me clearly. I'm not opposed to data centers, but we've got to find a way to do them that doesn't railroad people. And here's the deal. When one of the basics, let me just take you way back. One of the basics of journalism, if you're going to tell a story and get all the elements of a story, if any of you have had a creative writing class or you've been through a journalism class or even basic common sense would tell you, you've got to try to include, there are 5 things that almost always have to be in a story. What, when, where, why, and how. You could throw some others in there, I suppose. But those are if you're missing one of those elements, the story's not complete, okay? Are y'all following me? Am I making any sense? Do I sound kooky right now, AJ? What's up, buddy? You just got your wife picked up from a long trip. Are you
Yes,
okay?
I'm
I had to
good.
check on him. I was like, you had the kids by yourself how long?
2.5 weeks.
My man pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
He's still alive. The kids are still alive. That's all that counts.
I mean, I couldn't lose any more hair. I mean,
I understand.
I'm already bald headed, so.
It just takes years off your life, but they're nice years.
But you know what? It
you'll
was
remember
good.
these days.
It was good though. You know, we bonded together.
Did
My
you-
kids are awesome.
Did you deviate from the plan she clearly probably laid out for you? Did you just freestyle it some because it's?
Oh yeah.
I believe it's every man's right.
Yeah, I freestyled it.
Good for
They
you.
they survived. They're all right. They're good. They're happy. So that's all that matters.
I'm very happy to hear all of these things. All right, back to my rant. The where, what, when, how, and all that. We know the why we've got to build these data centers. So that question is not debatable. We got to build them. It's the future. It's the future of the world. It's coming. There's nothing we can do to change the advancement of these things. And every generation that's had to face new things have always been reluctant. That's just human history. So we know the why. We kind of know the how in a lot of ways of, no, it's the how that we're missing. Let me just kind of walk through all these. The when and the how and the where are the things that we're fighting over. How will these things be constructed? How will they impact our resources, our bills? Those hows are not clear. Look at the folks over in the Lakeshore Valley community. They got run over by these two-bit Birmingham low-rent politicians, and they had the authority to do it. You've got a lot of really talentless people with titles all over the state of Alabama that can cut these deals locally without any input from a governor or a president or anybody. And they'll do it because the old reason everything gets done, they get greased. Follow the lobby money that eventually chases these things. Back to the big story. So we don't know a lot of the hows. We understand the why. We don't understand the when. Why do we have to do it today? Why do we have to do this without deliberation, without public hearings, without a due process? It's fundamental to the American experience that we have due process and are allowed to argue against what our government's trying to do. It's what the problem was with COVID. You had the left mostly embracing it because it was a control mechanism, and they layer in at night when they're having communism porn poured into their brains, fantasizing over how to run your life. It's what they fundamentally have to start believing to embrace this stupid ideology that they've got to control other people. My side says, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone, we'll see how it works out. Their side says, no, you have to do what we say. And they did it during COVID, and boy, did they love it. They were addicted to it. Some of them are still wearing their damn masks as a symbol of obedience or some kind of phony, weird, pseudo-intellectual fake superiority. Remember how sanctimonious some of these paper mask people were? Some were just poor and dumb that just don't understand science. But we're back there again. This time it's the Trump administration, and for now it's Tuberville and others saying, just flat out saying, y'all need to quit talking about it. Shut up. We got to do this. There's no debate. Why? That's just Chinese propaganda, and y'all just need to get on the train because it's leaving the station this afternoon. Don't ask any questions. Get on board. It's for the greater good. That sounds like the left. Wait, what? We can't get a bunch of people to meet at the fire station or a church down the street and talk about what the hell's going on. Where are you going to put this thing? How's it going to affect us? We're not allowed to go through that process. I mean, look, I'll use a restaurateur because I was thinking of my man Will and all the challenges. Because I'm reading a lot in the news. We just had this big restaurant chain collapse here in Birmingham. Affected a lot of folks, not only customers, but obviously the people that work there. Running a restaurant in the United States of America in 2026, I don't know how people do it. There's so many challenges right now for that industry. But they're not going to give you, hey, you want to open a restaurant? Sure, we'll cut all the red tape. We won't require any kind of timeline. We don't even have to tell the community what you're doing. Just open your restaurant. We need food. Food's essential for life. Open your barbecue joint. And they don't go, oh, by the way, we'll cut your sales taxes and all the taxes that every other business has to pay if you'll just open this damn barbecue restaurant, and we can cut a secret deal and burn the evidence of what the confidential information was in the deal so you can get your restaurant open. No, they do not do that with small business people. They give you the runaround. You got to get in line. You got forms. You got sign-offs. You got approvals. You got inspections. You got more approvals. Then there's a whole damn another agency that's going to look at your health code standards and your construction standards, and I could go on and on. And you're going to pay through the nose on fees for every application, and you're going to pay taxes on all that. Yeah, you're going to pay your taxes because what good citizens do, right? Until one of these giant-ass behemoths comes marching in like Google and Meta and all these big-ass, rich, filthy rich companies, and they just going to jam these on top of a community, and Republicans sit back and go, well, it's progress. Don't ask any questions. Shut up and get on the train. I think it's a mistake. I think Doug Jones doesn't have a chance in hell unless he gets fired with this, because people could care less about the party levels at some point. And the Tupperville people are just willy-nilly letting this become a focal issue and handing over a chance to the Jones people. And I'm not saying Doug Jones is right, but he's more sensitive. He's being more reasonable on, I don't know that we need a moratorium, but we do need to think a little bit before we go put these buildings up. One more thought about what's left over, and JJ touched on this. I mean, I can't help but think we've seen in our lifetimes where technology gets built. Well, put it this way. The phone you have in your pocket, I'm going to hold my little iPhone up to the camera. This thing has more computing power than rooms full of computers just 30 years ago. They've condensed it down to that. It changes all the time. We've seen it in our own lives. Everything gets smaller. Everything gets more efficient. Everything gets cheaper. The tech changes. I remember over in Georgia, this Zell Miller, he ran on the lottery over there, and he was going to improve education by putting in gigantic, big old 16-foot satellite dishes at schools and giving them all computers. By the time they got it all built, the tech was old and obsolete. Giant-ass satellite dishes were not necessary to communicate information. Other technology came along. And by the way, they found out lately that the tablet-oriented schools are dumbing down the kids. All that tech, but we were told that's the future. We got to do it. We got to build this stuff. Then it changed. So what's going to happen to these data centers? We build these monstrous facilities when suddenly now we're putting them in space. Or the technology, the cooling technologies change, the processing abilities change. We can do it in a third of the space. You're going to have these massive rundown Scooby-Doo buildings with homeless people taking a dump in the corner and thugs spray painting on the outside of them. And that's what's going to be left in these communities where they're plopping these things. Probably in the next 5 or 10 years. Technology, and like I said before, AI technology, these centers will put themselves out of business because the AI technology will be used to condense the technology down and make the centers smaller. So it's just where we are, and I guess if you got to build them, you got to build them according to that scale. But that's going to change too. In these communities, I promise you, when there's better technology and more centralization and more efficiency, these big-ass companies, they got these tax rebates and these kickbacks and this government approval and the short process to put them up, they're going to leave these communities hanging with all this infrastructure. In my lifetime, we will see that happen. If we don't think about where they go and then what do we do with them when everything changes. Okay, that's my little platform for today. I'll shut up now. No, I won't. I got 3 hours and 7 minutes, and I'm going to keep talking about it. 545-9950, back in a minute, Leland Live. Howdy now, howdy now. I just feel like we're a little Andrew right
Howdy,
now.
howdy, howdy.
I'm just throwing my twist on Andrew. Howdy now. I picked up on that when we were out west and I had my cowboy hat on. Hey, let's get Lynn in here real quick. We'll continue with the phone calls and keep on trucking this afternoon. Lynn, what's up?
Okay, I just wanted to share an email that I just sent to Tommy Tuberville this morning
Yep.
about the data centers. I wrote, I voted for Republicans for years because most of my values and views align. I voted for you in the primary, but I don't know if I'll be voting for you in November. Your backing of data centers has me very concerned. I don't disagree that data centers may be necessary and eventually a good thing, but the speed and secrecy without due diligence is alarming. There are too many instances where they are being pushed into communities without transparency, giving these companies open access for temporary jobs and unknown outcomes for the community. I'm not, and most of my views align with your platform, especially immigration, no Sharia law, and so forth. I really want to vote for you, but this data center issue is a real concern.
That's very well written, and I think that's the politest way to put it. I think it gets to the point, and I appreciate you doing that. Look, Coach just got to make an adjustment here. As you say, he's right on most of the issues we're all going to agree on. But my point is, tactically, just from a perspective that I've had running campaigns and whatnot, he just handed a huge wedge issue to Doug Jones to fight with him about in debates and go toe-to-toe with him about, because he staked out sort of a, I wouldn't call it an extreme position, but an absolute position that needs to be reconsidered, I believe.
Exactly. Thank
Thanks,
you for
Lynn.
listening.
Good job. You know, look, if Greg Abbott can say, look, we're going to put a pause on this until we come up with a way to inform communities, it's the minimum that communities would ask for. And why would you, outside the logistics of it and all the stuff we just talked about, why would you hand these left-wing kooks a gimme distraction with everything else turning around and heading in the right direction? You can acquiesce that eventually we're going to have data centers, but still be fair to the people. Because when you run people over, they get out those old flags that started this whole thing with the snake that say, don't tread on me. That was a real moment when people felt put upon. It's how this country got going. The Republicans need to think about a position on this and get it right. Back here in just a minute.